Hi, today we're going to be playing Cross Bronx Expressway from GMT Games, which I believe is the third game in the Irregular Conflict series. We're going to be doing a solo playthrough. I'm going to be playing the public sector without a position card. The community sector has been given a position card of MP Independent, and the private sector has been given a position card of Lender. We're going to be doing 2 decades, starting from the 1940s and playing through the 1940s and the 1950s. The first event card, They're Coming Home. The end of war in Europe sees a rise in veteran population. Add 2 populations at any districts, add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. Community sector as priority. So we look at their position card, and the initial position is to react first, then do the event, and then act. So community will react. Following that is the public sector. I am going to act. And then the private sector, they would either act, react, or event. So they are going to do the event, because act and react are no longer available. So my turn to act. I am going to start off by servicing in up to 3 districts. I'm going to do 3 districts. So the first thing I'm going to do is in District 4 is I'm going to activate my organisation for 2 resources to remove a vulnerability to cases. Then I am going to pay 1 resource to the community sector to activate their organisation and remove a vulnerability to cases. That's the first. I'm then going to pay 2 resources to activate in District 4 my organisation, remove a vulnerability to cases. And then I think I'm going to pay 2 more resources, my third action, which is the place organisation, and I will place an organisation. So we could place it in District 6 to get an economic coalition. Let's place it in District 2 with my own infrastructure. The private sector will now do the event, and 2 population to any district. So when looking to place population, we look at the non-player aid. For place population, we go down, infrastructure with room. There's plenty of infrastructure with room. Carrying on down, least population. So we have 2 in District 1. When it says least population, I'm going to assume it's throughout the district. Okay, so place 2 population to any districts. So I'm going to place 1 in District 1. And then I'm going to place a 2nd in District 1. Then it says add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. So again, we look at the player aid. We look for place vulnerability, infrastructure with room. So this is District 4. In District 4, we will add a vulnerability, and that'll go straight into the infrastructure. Then community will do the react. So we look at the position card. They're not going to fundraise. Activities is less than or equal to employees. Activists is less than or equal to employees. And I am going to say 0 is equal to 0. So they are going to organise, activate to remove vulnerabilities. You actually can't do that because you've got no organisations on the board that you can activate, because I've just not activated it. So we go down. Districts with less than 2 infrastructure, yes. There's a number build. However, they can't build because they're doing react. And react is only possible, building is only possible in the act step. So they're going to do the bottom one. Any public organisations in an economic coalition? No. So they would mobilise. so they don't. So you can't actually do anything on this card. So what we're going to do, the card goes, and you will randomly get a new card. The new card is dedicated. Again, they're not going to fundraise. Unhoused population, no. Unhoused vulnerabilities, yes. So organise, activate to remove vulnerabilities, they cannot do. So the last one again, less than 2 districts with more social than economic coalitions. There's only 1 district. So they're going to organise, and they're going to place an organisation to form social coalitions first. That gives them a choice between 2 and 3. So looking at their chart for place an organisation, most unhoused vulnerabilities, which is District 2. So District 2 community will pay 2 resources to place an organisation which forms a social coalition. Because they've done their bottom line of their position card, they will get a star. If they get 2 stars, according to this number in the top right hand corner, then they'll get a VP. Okay, so that's that event done. Private sector did the event, so we placed the card by the private sector. This is so we have a history of who did what events. As I'm playing solo, it's not really that important. I'm going to put it there anyway. Move the next event across, reveal an event. The current event, Puerto Ricans fight for rights. World War II veteran Gilberto Garina Valentin fights for civil rights in the city. Place 1 organisation with a grant, move 1 vulnerability to any district. Okay, community as priority. However, because this event card places an organisation, it becomes a priority event. So community will do the event. I get to go next. I've got no money, so I am going to maybe do a budget to get some funds. Between the private sector, I'm going to react. Okay, my turn to act. I am going to do a budget. Oh, just going back to that last turn, the first round. I had 1 vulnerability when I was activating these organisations. I had 1 vulnerability to corrections if 2+ public organisations were activated across all districts. They were, so from round 1, we should have added a correction, a vulnerability into corrections. Okay, my turn to budget. Add up to 2 population, gain 1 resource for every 5 population housed in public infrastructure. Let's either activate or remove a public organisation or add 1 vulnerability. Okay. So the first district I'm going to do the same is District 2. I'm going to add 0 population, which is up to. I'm then going to activate my organisation, not to add a vulnerability, but that gives me 1 resource. Then I'm going to do the same in District 3. I'm not going to add any population. If it did, they'd go into the community, which would help the community. And I'm going to add a vulnerability instead of remove my organisation, which gives me a resource. And then in District 4, I'm going to add 2 population. So go to 5. That's going to give me a resource. And then do I want to remove my organisation? I'm going to remove my organisation so we don't have to add a vulnerability. This organisation started the game with a loan. Now, because I'm removing it, this loan then defaults. So we'll go back to the private sector. So then that also removes this social coalition. So my act done. The community sector will now place 1 organisation with a grant. So looking at our non-player aid for placing an organisation, most unhoused vulnerabilities. So this is going to be District 13509. Most vulnerabilities 223 and 3 to form a coalition. So in District 3 they would form a social coalition, which is what the community wants. So they will pay 2 resources to add a organisation. They don't pay 2 resources because they're doing the event. They will add the organisation with a grant. Then they move one vulnerability to any district. Now this is move, not add. So when you look at move, which is effectively remove, I'm going down this player aid. I don't think it's going to be much difference. I'm going to move from District 3 to District 4. Okay, now the private sector will react. So looking down their position card, they're not going to suburbanise. Unhoused vulnerability, yes. So they're going to invest. Activate to remove vulnerabilities. So you have a choice of doing this in 2 sectors, either Sector 6 or Sector 9. Unhoused vulnerabilities, so they'll pay 2 resources to activate this organisation. This will go to employees. No public organisations were activated. So we don't have to add any into corrections. So we'll put the event card next to the community sector. Move it over. Reveal a new one. So next event, US enters the war. Germany and Italy join Japan as nations the United States is at war with. Remove 2 population from any districts. Remove 1 vulnerability from corrections. I get to choose first. I don't think I want to budget again. I'm going to event just so I can control the population removal. Private chooses next, and private will act. And then community will act or react. So react. So private will act. They're not going to suburbanise because they have more than -3 resources. They are unhoused vulnerabilities. So they're going to activate to remove vulnerabilities. So only 1 sector they can activate in. Sector 6, so they'll pay 2. To activate this one, to remove vulnerability to employees. Now, they do technically have 2 more districts that they can act in. However, if we follow the position card, it's not quite clear whether they carry on going down to position card because they can't still act. So the way I'm going to play it, I think technically we would stop there because they've done an action on the position card. Well, if they're doing an act, so they can do 2 more actions. So they can't do the top one, they can't do the bottom one. Unhoused population in district with private infrastructure, suburban. So they can't do different action. So they can't suburbanise. So available loans, yes, they can invest. They can still invest in 2 districts. Because they've already done an invest action. And you can still do it in 2 districts. I think the cards assume that once you've done 1 action on the position card, you stop there. But I'm not going to play that way. I'm going to play it in hard mode. And if there's the same action further down the card, then you can do this. So in 2 more districts, that is not District 3, 6. So they've activated District 6. They're going to place available loans. So they're going to activate to remove vulnerabilities. Oh, it's the same thing. Which is a bit of a strange card. Okay, so this is a typo on the card. So available loans invest. It does say activate to remove vulnerability. It should say place loans. Got 2 districts. We're going to place a loan and place the grant a loan. It looks with own organisation. We've only got 2. We can't do this in district 6. For the first loan, you're going to pay 1 to place a loan in district 9. And then for the second loan, they would place it with the community organisation because you know more public organisations. So in District 4, you'll pay 1 to place a second loan with the community organisation, which is a bit strange because it means the public sector has the initiative now to create a social coalition. So because they've done this bottom part of their card, they're going to get a star. Okay, my turn to do the event. Remove 2 population from any districts. I think I'll just spread this out. So I'll take 1 from community and 1 from private. Then remove 1 vulnerability from corrections. Then we got the one I had before as gone. Finally, community going to react. Less than 2 resources, no. Unhoused population, no. Unhoused vulnerabilities, activate to remove vulnerabilities. So they will, and they will do this in District 2 or 3 because this is a unhoused vulnerability. They will pay 2 resources to activate their own organisation to remove this to activists. Card done. I did the event, so the event will come over here. So moves over, reveal a new one. The next event is Roosevelt fixes prices. The President signs Emergency Price Control Act to stabilize prices during the war. Replace 1 private infrastructure with 1 community infrastructure. Add 1 vulnerability to any district. I get to choose. Vulnerabilities on the board are looking quite low. So I'm feeling another budget coming up. So I'm going to act. So the event is not a special event because it's placing infrastructure, not exhausting infrastructure, and it's faction specific. So it's not a general replace or exhaust. So community will either act, react, or the event. So they will react. And private will either act, react, or the event. So unfortunately, private are going to have to do the event to replace one of their own infrastructure. Okay, my turn to go first. I think I will budget. Okay, so I'm going to do District 2, 3, 4 again. But I will get 3 resources. I'm not going to add any population. I'm just going to decide whether to... Oh, we should have a social coalition market here. I'm just going to decide whether I want to add or remove a vulnerability or remove my organisation. I think I'm going to remove my organisation from here. Just remove this social coalition. Here, I'm going to add a vulnerability. And on District 4, got no choice, I have to add a vulnerability. Okay, it's my budget done. Event, replace 1 private infrastructure with 1 community infrastructure. So, replace or place infrastructure in a non-player aid, non-exhausted, no unhoused population, most unhoused vulnerabilities. So we're only dealing with 4, 5, 6, and 9. So 1 and 5. most vulnerabilities, which is District 3, District 5. So this over here is going to get replaced. It's the private that's got to do themselves, so these go back in. And then add one vulnerability to one district. Replace vulnerability, infrastructure with room. Yes, District 6 is room. Okay, the event done. And then community is going to react. Then they've got 2 resources, which are not less than 2. One has population, no. One has vulnerabilities, yes. Activate to remove vulnerabilities. Only one area they can activate, which is District 3. So they will activate the community organization here. This will go to activists. Card done. Now next community, next event moves over. Next event, Bronx beaches go private. Clayson Point Bathing and Amusement Park is transformed into a members-only private beach club. Replace one public organisation with one private organisation. Increase resources by 1. Well, there's only one public organisation. I get to choose first. Only one public organisation on the board. At the moment, I think I'm probably going to add some with all this money. So I will budget. I will act. Private will now react. And community will do the event. So that community is going to here. Well, maybe not. Okay, so I am acting. I'm going to surface in up to 3 districts. Okay, so this is to replace organizations. First one I'm going to place in District 9 with a loan to create an economic coalition. Second one, I will place one over here with this loan, create a social coalition. And the third one, I have to pay 2 for, and I'm going to balance out. Then again, I know replace one public organisation with a private organisation. This one can't be replaced. This can be replaced, but common sense tells you the community would not replace that one from the social coalition. So I've got a feeling this one did replaced. So I'll place one here to create an economic coalition. That costs me 2 resources. I didn't activate 2 public organisations, so I don't need to add a vulnerability. And that is my act done. Event for the community. Replace one public organisation with one private organisation. Okay, so they can't replace the because you can't have 2 privates. So it gives you the choice of here, or here. This should be a social coalition, not an economic one. So either way, they're going to get rid of a social coalition and make a economic coalition. So just looking at a chart, replace most of them has vulnerabilities, which is going to be District 4. Okay, so this public one, the loan will go back because private can't have loans. Let's come over here. Private one will come out. This now becomes an economic coalition, which is good for me because it's now 2 on 2. And then increase resources by 1. So to get a resource back. Then private's going to is going to react. They're not going to suburbanize. They are going to do this invest. Yes, they can do. Activate to remove vulnerabilities. You only want to set district they can do this in, which is this one. So they activate this one, and this will go to employees. Card done. This will go over to the community. Okay, next event. Commercial flights bring new faces. As air travel grows, New York becomes a destination for global travellers. Add one population each to 3 districts, add one vulnerability to 1 district. Community has priority. It's not a special event. So community will look at their position card, and community are going to private choose next, and they're going to react. And I will do the event. So community to act. Less than 2 resources, yes. So they are going to fundraise. Community infrastructure with fewest vulnerabilities. So these are fundraising either 3, 4, 5, or 6. Definitely going to be doing it in 3 and 6 because they've got the least vulnerability. So it depends on 4 and 5, which is effectively we could be placing the vulnerability. So looking down this chart, we're going to be doing it in District 4 because it has most organisations. So District 3. Oh, nice. $3 and a vulnerability. District 4. Getting some good rolls here. $3 and a vulnerability. And then District 6. $2. Some nice rolls from the community here. I'm now going to do the event, which is add 1 population each to 3 districts. Okay, so that's actually great because you've got to spread these out. So 1 in District 5, 1 in District 6, and 1 in District 1. Add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. I think District 9 can have a vulnerability. Then private to react. They're not going to suburbanise. They cannot invest to remove vulnerabilities because they've got no inactive organisations. Unhoused population in district with private infrastructure. No unhoused population, so they're going to invest again to place. They've actually got a loan, so they're going to invest again to get a loan, which is going to cost them 1. Place a loan with own infrastructure fair, own organisations fair. So this is the only one. So they will place a loan here because they've done their bottom one. Get another star. Now I've got 2 stars, which matches the number in the top right corner. So private takes an early lead with a victory point. Card done. Over. Reveal the last card of the decade. Local impacts from Operation Bootstrap. As Puerto Rico shifts out of agriculture, families migrate to New York for opportunities. Add 3 populations to 1 district. So community chooses first. It's not a special event, so community are going to act. 3 populations, 1 district seems decent enough, so I will do the event. Which means the private will react. Okay, community to act. They've got a wealth of money, so certainly don't need to fundraise again. There's no unhoused population. There is unhoused vulnerabilities. So organise. They can't organise because they've got no inactive organisations. Less than 2 districts with more social than economic coalitions. No, there's actually 2 districts with more social than economic. So they don't do this part. So unfortunately, they lose the star because they can't do the card. And they get a new card. Leader. Again, they're not going to fundraise. They can't activate new vulnerabilities. Unhoused population, no, not going to build. Unfilled community infrastructure, there's 2. So they're going to mobilize only to fill community. So mobilize action. Move up to 2 population to an adjacent district, then add 1 vulnerability to either the origin or the destination district. Okay, so it's 3 and 6 that they want to move into. So we've got to select the origin district, which remove population. Most unhoused population, no. Most vulnerabilities. So we are going to remove population from District 4 into District 3. Now, one of the rules for the non-player is where it says move up to 2 population, they will always move the max. So they will always move 2, even though moving 2 is bad. So this will go down to 3. This will go up to 5. However, we will also get 1 unhoused population. And then for District 6, although we've got to decide whether to add vulnerability to District 3 or 4, it will be District 3 because this one's already got 2 unhoused population. Then for District 6, we are going to choose District 3 because it has the most unhoused population. So this one, we'll make this a 5. However, because it's a non-player, it always moves to max. So this will come to 4, with 1 becoming unhoused. And then they will add a vulnerability to District 6. They haven't got a 3rd district to go into. In theory, for the 3rd district, we could do add 1 vulnerability, then refresh an organisation and move to an adjacent district, which we are not going to do because it would have to be District 2. So, but since they have done the bottom one, they get the star back. They need 2 for the victory point. Okay, you might enter the event and I can add 3 population to 1 district. I'm just going to add this to District 5 to make this a 5. And add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. So the vulnerabilities are starting to add up now. This is on to District 2. Maybe not. So the reason I'm not going to put into District 2 is because I know in the census phase, they get added to corrections of R rounded up. So having 2 vulnerabilities is just as bad as having 1 vulnerability. Having 1 vulnerability, you're definitely going to get 1 added to the overflow or corrections. But having none, we don't. Having 2, you still only get 1 added. So I'm going to put in District now. That's the event done, and then private will react. The not less than manage 3 resources. There is unhoused vulnerabilities, but there's no organizations. Unhoused populations in districts with private infrastructure. There is in District 6. So they are going to suburbanize. New population with fewest vulnerabilities. So suburbanize says remove up to 2 population and gain 1 resource for each population removed. We'll either activate or remove a private organization or add 1 vulnerability. So they will do this where these unhoused population. So they remove, it goes to the max. So they remove 1. And then this one from community, because they always remove from community for private. And that gains them 2 resources. Then you must either activate or remove a private organization. So the rule say they will always remove a organization before adding vulnerability. So this will go back. Okay, card done. They did the event. Last event of the decade. Building America's suburban dream. Post-war, many urban areas are incentivised to move to the suburbs. Activate one private organisation. Remove one population each from 3 districts. Increase resources by 2. Private as priority. It's not a special event. So they will not do the event, so they will act. It might be good to keep in charge throughout the event, and then community will react. Okay, private event, private act. They're not going to suburbanise. One has vulnerabilities, yes, but they've got no organisations to invest. One has population, no. Not anymore. Available loans, yes. So they will invest to remove, to place a loan. Okay, so this will cost them 1. And place a loan will go with their own organisation first, but they've got them on board available. With public community, there's a severe lack of organisations on the board. Most population, so there's 10 over there. So they are going to place the loan here. They don't get another star, so already reached the max. And even though they can do 2 more actions, there's nothing left on the position card for them to do. So that'll be the goal done. My events, activate one private organisation, which is not to activate. Remove one population each from 3 districts. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. I could break these down so you get order for private and community. Increase resources by 2. Good. Finally, the community is going to, they're not going to fundraise. They can't activate anything. One house population build, they can't build because they're doing a react step, which no one has population anyway. Unfilled community infrastructure there is, so they are going to mobilise again. So mobilise in 1 district. So move up to 2 population from an adjacent district, then add 1 vulnerability. So we're going to move 2 from here into here. Take this a 5. And then they will add the vulnerability to here. And that's the final card done. Okay, census. So let's go down to census, starting with quota phase. For each district in numerical order, add 1 vulnerability if there are any unhoused population there. So we've got no unhoused population anywhere on the map. Move off, rounded up of the unhoused vulnerabilities to corrections. So District 1, District 2 none, District 3. So these ones with 2, and actually still only removing 1. 5, 6, 9. There are now more unhoused vulnerabilities than infrastructure in the district. Place 1 petition there. So that's not a case anywhere else because we've only got 1 vulnerability in districts. So done. Corrections phase. Each faction in public, community, private order may spend 1 resource, if not at or below their debt limit, to move 1 vulnerability from corrections to a district with their infrastructure. So according to the rules, community will pay that resource. Private will never pay for that reason to do that. So start with me, I will pay 1. move this to District 5, and then community will pay 1, and this will go to District 3. Petitions and blight are not an issue, you're not on the board. So then we go to the audit phase. So each faction adjusts their expenses market as follows. So 4, 8, 12, 16 public, community 4, 8, 12, 16 for community, and private 4, 8, 12 for infrastructure. There's no exhausted infrastructure on the map. And one expense for each of their organisations, and that's a grant or a loan. So for me, it's 1, 2. For community, it's 1, 2. And then for private, it's 1, 2. We really need more organisations on the board. Public and community add 1 expense for every active loan, so I get an extra 1. Community and private add expenses equal to their total count of their organisations and infrastructure on the map multiplied by the tax rate. So for community, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Half is 3.5. Round up is 4. And then for private, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2.5 round up is 3. Okay, and then income. So that income equals to the tax rate times the total number of non-public infrastructure and organisations on the map. So this is for me. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 6 income, not really much there. Add 1 income for every 5 house population in all districts without blight. Good. I'm sure this is very high either. 3, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 23, 28, 33, 43, 46, so 45, that's 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, oh, it's a big gap there, it's a big gap. Add 1 income per population housed in their infrastructure. So start with community, you have 5, 10, 15, 20, nice for the community there. And private, it's 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. Private's going to be struggling here. Add 1 income for every 5 house population in a district for each of their organisations. So, starting with community. This organisation will get 1 income. Actually, I just go around the districts. This organisation will get 1 income. So, community are in profit. This organisation will get 1 income for community and 1 income for private. No organisation, no organisations, and not 5 district, not 5 population. Private has 1 thing for every active loan, and then private will get an extra 1, so not great for private there. Okay, so that's income. And each faction increases or decreases their resources by the difference. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm going to go back 4 to 1. Community is actually going to go up 1, very wealthy community sector. And private, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to go back 4. Okay, that was the order phase. instead of the other phase. Loans, I'm not going to pay any loans back. Bonds, if there are community or private bond markers, oh, this would be me paying, but there isn't any bonds. So controller, if public and community debt is now greater than 14, the city is bankrupt and everyone loses, which it isn't. It's on mass. I think we did miss a step, which is basically losses. So basically, it wasn't really an issue, because what we should have done when we removed the vulnerabilities from overflow, we would have increased losses by the total number of vulnerabilities and overflow, and there's no vulnerabilities there, so losses would stay at 0. If losses ever got to 8, everyone loses. So back to controller. So I can offer a bond to each community and private, which I will do. So they cannot go below. Oh, they can go below their debt limit in this case. So looking at the non-player rules, private will always buy bonds if possible. So let's get them a private bond for that. That cost them 4, and I gain 4. And community will only buy a bond if it doesn't have one. It doesn't have a bond. So a bond there for community. So it cost them 4, down to 5. We swap places. I go to 9. The public has 5 or more resources in debt, which we're not, so I can't increase the tax rate. So then objectives. Starting with me, 1 VP if public is not in debt. No, so I get a VP. To 1. VP if social coalitions are equal to economic coalitions. 2 and 2, I make it. It's a VP. Cases greater than activists. 3 on 2. It's a VP. 1 VP if 1 or more districts have no blight or vulnerabilities. No. District 2 is quite close. So that's middle. I'm just thinking that one of the last actions of the game, community did mobilise again. So we should have got a 2nd star, which would have given them a VP. Can't remember if they did that. I think they did that. So I'm going to give them a... So, objectives. 1 VP for if community, if activists plus employees plus cases is greater than corrections plus overflow, that's 10. So 6, 7, 8. So that's not true. 1 VP if at least 2 districts have more social coalitions than economic coalitions. It's true. District 2 and 3. 1 VP. 1 VP if activists are greater than employees. No. 1 VP if 1 or more districts have only community infrastructure. At least 1 community. Well, that's not true. And then they also get a VP for their position card again. Up to 3. This goes off. This goes next to them, and they get a new position card. So community finished on 3. Private. 1 VP if there are 2 more private bonds and or active loans. 2 or more private bonds and or active loans. There's actually 2. You've got a bond and you've got a loan. That's a VP. If there are more economic coalitions or social coalitions, no. Employees greater than cases, no, it's the same. 1 or more districts have only private infrastructure. At least 1 economic coalition and no blight or unhoused. So District 9 meets that criteria, so we get 3. And then they also get their star again, so private will go to 4 to take a lead. These 2 come off. This goes next to the private sector, and then they get a new card, random, and you've got loss leader. Okay, finally the reset phase. Reset phase, refresh all organisations. believe this loan marker turns upside down. If you went another decade, this would go to over to here. All grants and loans, this happens now anyway. All grants and loans on the map are flipped face down or returned if already face down. Active loans are returned to the faction area of the organisation holding the loan. Inactive loans to the private area, grants to the public area. Retain all vulnerabilities from activists, cases, employees and overflow, but not corrections. So these will go back. These go back. These go back. Any infrastructure without housed population is exhausted. Any unhoused organisations are removed. If private is in debt, they may activate one private organisation to set their resources to zero. Apparently they always do that. Least vulnerabilities first. So they will activate this one. Let's go to zero. If public is in debt, I'm not. If community is in debt, I'm not. Add 2 populations to all districts with no infrastructure, none. Advance the decade marker. This is done. Reveal the first event for the 1950s, the next event, and begin the game again. Okay, so the first event of the 1950s. Migrants from Puerto Rico love the Bronx. US citizens in Puerto Rico make the move to the mainland. Add 3 population to 1 district. Add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. So it's not a special event. Community gets to choose first their new card. It says they are going to act. Got quite a bit of money here. What they want to do. But try and remove some of these vulnerabilities, especially from District 2, where it's a bit early. I'm going to react. And so privates will either react, act, or plan. So because they can't act or react, they are going to plan. They are not going to do the event. Community event. They're not going to fundraise. They're not going to mobilise. There's no unhoused population. Less than 2 districts with more social and economic coalitions. No, because it's 2. So unhoused vulnerabilities, yes. So straight away they're going to activate to remove vulnerabilities. They can do this in 3 districts. They've got 3 districts to do it in. So let's just do this. So the first one I'm going to do is in District 3. 2, activate this organisation. So move 1 to activists. Then they will pay 1 to activate here. So remove this vulnerability to activists. And then comes a choice of district, because they only got enough to do 1 more unhoused vulnerabilities in District 4, so they'll pay 2 to activate here. And take this to activists, and straight off they will get a star. They only activated 1 public organisation, so there's no need to add anything to corrections. So the event, so even though no one chose the event always takes place. So we're going to add 3 population to 1 district. I'm going to choose a district with room. So if I have 3 here and 3 here, we should get unhoused population. So I'm going to add this to District 3, even though it is my infrastructure. I think that was a fair choice. And then add 1 vulnerability, which I think will go on to District 2. As they have no unhoused vulnerabilities and they've got the most inactive organisations. Me to react. Well, let's do the same. I spend 2 to activate here. To remove this. Then I'll pay 1 to community. Activate this and remove here. Cases. That's my react done, and now private will plan. So when we plan, so let's move these back. So we're not going to call it audit, so I'm not going to work out the income and expenses again, it just takes too long. They're going to do what's next on their card. So I'm going to look at the next event, because the next event says exhaust to infrastructure, which makes this a special event. It's a bit harsh actually. So they're going to do the event because they would choose this in the next round. We can also refresh one of their organisations, so this will get refreshed. And that is the plan. So knowing this event, just going to put to the side, move over to the next event, reveal. So the next event, Major Deegan honoured an expressway opening. A stretch of highway along the Harlem River is named after Robert Moses' predecessor. So this is exhaust to infrastructure, move 2 population from one district to one adjacent district, then add a vulnerability. So exhaust to infrastructure seems a bit harsh. So private's chosen the event. Community will choose next, and community will act, and I will react. So community to act. And community are going to fundraise because they have less than 2 resources. So they're going to do this in 3 districts. The one you choose is the one with the least vulnerabilities, so that's going to be 3 and 4. Going down the list, I get to choose because these are pretty much equal. So they can do it in District 5. Okay, District 3, you get $1. District 4, get $2, no vulnerabilities added. And District 5, another $2, so quite some good rolls there from the community sector. Didn't add any vulnerabilities. Now the event, exhaust to infrastructure. It's a bit harsh this one. Okay, so I'm going to assume they're not going to exhaust their own. Least population. Okay, so I'm going to assume they're not going to exhaust their own infrastructure. So the first one they're going to exhaust is this one. Going down, least unhoused vulnerabilities. And then, it's a bit harsh. So they're going to exhaust 2 man. So the organisations come off. I guess it stays there, but doesn't actually count as a social coalition because it's not exhausted. And again here, these now become unhoused. This becomes unhoused. Okay, then move 2 population from one district to one adjacent district. Remove population, most unhoused, so it's going to be this one. And it's going to go to District 1. So they move 2. So this now becomes a 3. This becomes a 5. And next is add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. Least unhoused vulnerabilities. Least vulnerabilities. It's going to be District 2 even though it's got infrastructure. So quite a harsh event there for me in the event. My turn to react. I can't actually, in the react stage, I can't actually get these back. So what do? I think I'm just going to service in District 9. So 2 to activate and move this to cases, and then 1 to private to activate, and then remove this to cases. Okay, event done. I go next to private, next event, Next event, integration arrives to fight in Korea. Over 1.5 million men are drafted into the armed services to fight in war in Korea. Remove one population from 2 districts. Remove one vulnerability from corrections. But I'm pretty sure the non-player aid is going to say move it from here anyway. So I am going to act. Private chooses next, and privates are going to react, going to their position card, and then community is going to do the event. I tend to act, and I think I'll do 2 resources to replace exhausted infrastructure. And I am going to take this one. I'm just going to replace it. These get rehomed. These all come back. This comes back. Then add 2 populations to selected district. If there are now unhoused population, also add, there isn't, whether add 2 population, because this will just now jump back to 5. And I can only do that in 1 district. So I can't do this district, even though it's an act. The house action only allows you to do it in 1 district. Communities do the event. So remove population from 2 districts. So removing population, I know straight away it's going to be most unhoused. So I know this one's certainly going to be removed. And then the second one will be the most vulnerabilities, which is it's going to be one of these. And these are all similar. So 5 and 6 are very similar. So they will remove it from the private before their own. This will go down to 4. And then remove 1 vulnerability from corrections. And finally, the private sector will react. They're not going to suburbanise. Employees is less than and greater than cases, which it is. Activate to remove vulnerabilities without using coalition. Okay, so they will spend 2. There's only 1 place they can do this. You'll activate this to remove employee, and that is that card done. So the community of the event, these reset. Next event, reveal. Okay, so the next event. Bronx line connects with rest of subway. The Dyer Avenue connection, acquired from the bankrupt New York, Westchester and Boston Railway. Remove 2 population from 1 district to 1 adjacent district. Remove 1 vulnerability for 1 district. The private chooses first. It's not a special event, so they're going to react with their position card. I get to choose next. And I think I've got 2 resources left. So I'm going to act because I can get that exhausted infrastructure back, which means the community is going to do the event. So I'm going to do the same as last time. I'm going to pay 2 resources to replace this and add 2 population, and that is done. Okay, event. Move 2 population from 1 district to 1 adjacent district. So remove population. We now have no unhoused population, most vulnerabilities, which again is going to be 5 and 6. Most population is now 5, so we're going to remove from 5. And we're going to place it in place population, infrastructure with room, least population with the same, least vulnerabilities is going to be district 4. So this is remove 2 population from 1 district, so it's going to be removed from mine because they won't remove it from themselves. So 1 is going to go into here to be housed, and 1 is going to be unhoused. Remove one vulnerability from one district. This is going to be 5 and 6, and I'm pretty sure, because of most population, it's going to be District 6. So this gets removed. Okay, event done. The parameter will now react. We're not going to suburbanise, it's still greater than -3. And the parameter can go down to -5. Employees less than equal to cases, that is the case. However, there's no organisations to activate. Exhaust the infrastructure, no. Payoff. Any private infrastructure with less than 3 population, which is not the case. So they can't do anything because this one's got 3 population. No, so they can't do anything in this card. This card will go away, and you get a new random one. It's going to be networked. And we're going to go straight on down to payoff. Okay, unhoused vulnerabilities adjacent to infrastructure with room. And that is true. 5 is adjacent to 4. So what the payoff action does. One resource, activate or remove a private organisation and move 2 vulnerabilities to adjacent districts. If the destination now has more unhoused vulnerabilities than infrastructure, exhaust an infrastructure. So you can't do that one anyway because there's no private infrastructure in here. So down to invest. Fewer economic coalitions to social coalitions. That's 2-2. Which is not fewer. So you can't do this card. So they get a random one. So again, we're going to go straight down to invest. Fewer economic coalitions to social coalitions. Nope, it's 2-2. Exhausted infrastructure developed. So no, it's another card you can't do. A new one. Payoff. We can't pay off because you haven't got the organisation. Fewer employees than cases. That's true. Activate to remove vulnerabilities without using coalitions. Again, they cannot do that. So invest, fewer economic. No. So if we go through these and you find one, I believe they get a point, and then I'll just do an action for them. Because a lot of these are similar. Yeah, a lot of them are the similar action, just in a different order. There is none that says place organisation, which doesn't make sense. So again, less than available loans, no. District 2 or more, unhoused one. So that's the only one. But there isn't a district 2 or more unhoused. Actually, so we can't do that one. So the last one they have is broker. They can't do these. Suburbanized. Unhoused population and district, no. No lazy fair place infrastructure. You can't place infrastructure because they're doing a react. You can't do any of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to volunteer. And I'm going to do this invest the place organisation. So they're going to spend 2 resources, and they're going to place organisation, and place organisation with most unhoused vulnerabilities. They're going to place it here with a loan. I think that makes sense. And that's their react step done. So the event was from my community. The next event. So next event, gangs of the Bronx. As sport gangs in the Bronx grow, they both bridge and create class and racial division. Increase resources by 1, add 1 vulnerability to 1 district, Community gets to choose first. Not a great event. They're going to act. Private next, and they're going to react. Which leaves me to decide what to do next. And I think I'm going to, I don't have resources. I'm not first on the next card. So I'm going to plan. So, community to act. Don't need to fundraise. There is unhoused population. So they're going to mobilise only to house population. So when they mobilise, move up to 2 population to an adjacent district and add 1 vulnerability to either the origin or destination district. Okay, so this is the unhoused population. So move up to 2 because it's a non, they're going to move 2. So they're effectively going to go move 2 from here, so they're going to move this one. It's going to go down to 4. And this one, with that gone, it's going to go up to 5. And that's the only place they're going to do it. So they're going to have a small act. They're not going to do the other step and mobilise because it hurts themselves. And they've already chosen District 4. So, no one chose the event. However, the event gets done anyway. Increase resources by 1. I guess that doesn't happen because there's no one to get the resource. So add 1 vulnerability to 1 district. That is going to happen. It's going to go into District 9. Or population of vulnerability. Because it gets housed. And that's my choice. Then react for the... So you still haven't got less than -3 resources. They're still on -3. There's no available loans. Districts with 2 or more unhoused vulnerabilities. No. Unhoused vulnerabilities, yes. So they're going to invest. So they're going to spend 2. Going to activate here. And this will go to employees. And they will get a start. Not quite sure how long they're going to be able to. We should be actually should do lots of Suburbanize next. Okay, and then I will plan. So because I've got no money, I am going to. So the next event, place 1 organisation with a grant. Me 2. That's where's the place an organisation with a grant is not too bad. I was going to act so I can budget. Go on, I'm going to do. I will act. So this event is gone. No one did it. Next event comes over. Reveal. Okay, so the next event. Bronx attorney elected to state assembly. Felipe Torres becomes the first Puerto Rican elected to office from the Bronx. So place 1 organisation with a grant, and then move 2 vulnerabilities from 1 district to 1 adjacent district. Okay, so I've chosen act for my plan action. Community will choose first. This is a special action. So community will choose an event because it places an organisation. And private will react. So my turn to act. I think I was going to budget. I'm going to budget here. I'm not going to add any vulnerabilities, add any population. Get 1. Do I want to remove? Oh, when I planned, I could have refreshed an organisation. So I would have refreshed this one and then I activate it so I don't have to add a vulnerability. Then I'm going to do it in District 3. So I'm not going to add any population and I will add a vulnerability. And then I'm going to add 1 population into District 4. And this also gets a vulnerability, which will go from housed at 3. No. Event, place 1 organisation with a grant. So community is going to place an organisation with a grant. So place organisation. Most unhoused vulnerabilities, well, actually very few unhoused vulnerabilities. So it's going to be District 3. Goes in with the grant. Done. And then be 2 vulnerabilities from one district to an adjacent district. So I'm guessing it's going to be from District 3 to an adjacent district, which actually makes it worse. And so place vulnerabilities, there's quite a number. Most organisations, in fact, they're going to go into District 4 or District 9. Fewest owned, so it's going to go into District 9. So I'm going to move 2. So they're both going to become unhoused. And then finally, private now react. So they are going to suburbanise because they have less than 3 resources. So they suburbanise action. Remove up to 2 population and gain 1 resource for each population removed. Must either activate or remove a private organisation or add 1 vulnerability. So, removing population. Most unhoused population, none. Most vulnerabilities is going to be this one. So we will remove 2 population. Then we'll get 2 resources. And the rules say you will always remove before adding a vulnerability, which does break the economic coalition. That card done. That was done by the community. So we've only got 2 events left from the 1950s. Penultimate event, as the city grows, some New Yorkers leave. Low interest loans and mortgage rates attract some to the suburbs. You remove 4 population from 3 districts. Activate 1 private organisation, increase resources by 2. Private chooses first, they are going to act. They choose next. Remove 4 population from 3 districts. It's good here, but I think I want to get rid of vulnerabilities more. So I'm going to do the event. And so community will react. Okay, suburbanise now, available loans no. District with 2 or more unhoused vulnerabilities, yes, yeah. Place organisation. So they will pay 2 money, go back to -5. Oops. And they will place organisation, yeah. They've got no more money to do anything, so they can't do anything else with that invest action. That's their act done. My event, and it's just unfortunate, the middle one, activate 1 private organisation. This is the only private organisation on the board. And then I've got to remove 4 population from 3 districts. Total from 3 districts. Okay. 1. 2. Not going to remove that one. 3. 4. And finally, increase resources by 2. Unfortunately, the thing with that, I'm not going to get a chance to place organisations and then activate them. Finally, the community is going to react. So they're not going to fundraise. 1 house population. It isn't. Less than 2 districts with more social than economic coalitions. No, there's actually more social coalitions at the moment. Unhoused vulnerabilities, yes. Activate, and they can't activate. So It goes to the point where they can't do this card. We're getting a few of these cards they can't do. Let's get them a new card. Activists less than or equal to employees. No, it's actually more. No one has population. Less than 2 districts with more. No. Determined. Organisation in an economic coalition. Yes, these District 4. So, mobilise only to break economic coalition. So mobilise is, okay, add 1 vulnerability, then refresh an organisation and move it to an adjacent district. Okay, so add 1 vulnerability, refresh an organisation, move it to an adjacent district. It's going to go to District 5. Which breaks this economic coalition. Okay, done. And the event there was done by public sector. Last event of the decade. Place 1 public organisation with a grant. I get to choose first. I'm tempted to build an infrastructure. I'm going to act. Next is going to be community. Now, it's placing an organisation, it's placing a faction-specific organisation, which means it's not a special event. The event, by the way, is Little Wagner takes mayoral seat. Son of a former state senate, Robert Wagner Jr., becomes mayor 1 year after his father's death. So, community act or event. The community will do the event. And act, react, or event. React. When I say to act, I'm going to build infrastructure. I think it would be nice to get rid of this vulnerability here. But let's build the infrastructure. 4 resources to place the infrastructure. So let's go down to 1. Then add 2 population to select a district. So I'm tempted to build it here, because then we can house this vulnerability. We have 2 population, job done. The event, place 1 public organisation with a grant, and to save time, don't add it here, because it creates another economic, social, not that one, no, public, it creates another social coalition. And finally, private will react. So, and they're just going to suburbanise, and suburbanise is going to be removed up to 2 population. So removing population, most unhoused population, most vulnerabilities, which I think technically is set for, or no, but then I think it might go to most population. So it's going to be District 4. And they will remove 2 from community before public. And then the rule will say they will remove, that gives them 2. The rule will say they will remove an organisation before. Adding vulnerabilities, done. Community done that. So community done way more events than anyone else. And then we go to the final census. So the final census, we start with the quota phase. I think we did quite well on vulnerabilities. For each district, add 1 vulnerability for any unhoused population. We end up with no unhoused population on the board. We've half rounded up to of the unhoused vulnerabilities to corrections. We did quite good here. None, 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 and 1. So nothing can overflow. There are now more unhoused vulnerabilities than infrastructure in the district. Place 1 petition there. Nope, this is 101. Corrections phase. Each faction can spend a resource to remove one vulnerability from corrections to a district with their infrastructure. So community will always pay to remove a vulnerability. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I choose not to. I don't think I need to in the final round of the game. Right. Increase losses by total number of vulnerabilities and overflow, none. And then not 8 or more. So we did quite well with losses, kept them at 0. Decisions and blight, not on the board. So the audit phase, start with public. I have now 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Private 4, 8, 12, didn't build any. Community 4, 8, 12, 16, didn't build any. No exhausted infrastructure to build. Expense for each organisation, that's a grant or a loan. So I've got 1, 2, just 2. This has a grant, this has a loan. Community has 1, grant, 2. And private as 1, 2. Very weak private sector in this game. I have an active loan. And then taxes. So for community, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4. So 22. And private's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2.5 makes 3. So income, tax rate times the total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 6.5 goes to 7. Got a 7 income, doesn't seem much. And then every 5 population. 4, 9, 19, 20, 21, 26, 27, 28, 38, now 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. The population will go down there, but it's still 46, still 45, which is still 9. So 16. So big loss there for public, probably because the extra infrastructure here, tax rate might have gone down a little bit. Okay, community income is going to be 5, 6, 7, 12, 16. I think that's a big drop. And private's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's definitely a big drop. Okay, so 1 for community, for district 3. Okay, so community going to be okay here. So this organisation gets 2, and this organisation gets 2. None for anyone. This organisation gets 2. None for anyone. None for anyone. Check, I'm not sure if I added anything for this organisation. I don't think this organisation gets 2 as well. I don't think I added that. I think I've done this one for the 4, and then I haven't done that one. Then private gets another one for the loan. Then increase it. So community did well, done 1. I think public sector didn't do very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down to -6. And then private did terrible. 3, 4, 5, 6. Down to -9. I'm not going to pay any loans back. Bonds. If there are any community or private bond markers in the current decade, unfortunately there is, the public faction must either pay 4 resources to the owner and retain the bond to the supply, pay 1 resource to the owner and move the bond to the next decade, even if that decade will not be played, and they go below the public debt marker. Okay, so obviously I'm going to spend 2 and move these over because they're not going to get played. So community debt is not less than -14 because of, well, not -8, but community is higher, is profit. So public plus community debt is still greater than 14. So I can offer bonds. So private will always buy a bond. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And they will get another bond. Community will only buy a bond if they don't have one. They do have one, so they're not going to buy one. So I will get 4 back. The public has 5 or more resources in debt and no, so can't increase the tax rate. Not that massive anyway. Okay, final objectives. Starting with public. I am in debt, no point. Social coalitions are equal to economic coalitions, no point. There's a lot more social coalitions now. Cases are greater than activists, that's true, so I'm going to get a point. If 1 or more districts have no blight or vulnerabilities, unfortunately, it's not the case. Then the final one, if vulnerabilities in districts is less than losses, no, because losses are 0. Public is not in debt again, so no. So I finished on 4 points. Community sector. Community and private did not get their position card, so they won't get a bonus point. Activists plus employees plus cases is greater than corrections plus overflow. 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's not the case, it's 9 versus 9, so no point. Activists are greater than employees, sadly they are, so a point. At least 2 districts have more social coalitions, yeah, true, point. 1 VP in 1 more districts have own community infrastructure, no. Community is not in debt, point. Losses are less than 5, point. 0. If there's a community bond, point. If you have a winner there with the community. Then finally private. 1 VP if there are 2 more private bonds or active loans, point. 1 VP if there are more economic coalitions, no. 1 VP if employees are greater than cases. 1 VP if 1 or more districts have only private infrastructure, at least 1 economic coalition, and no blight or unhoused population. Yes, District 9 again, so point. If private is not in debt, private is very much in debt. -1 VP if there's no private infrastructure on the board, there is. +1 VP if there's a private bond in addition to recurring revenue. Okay. So this is like they double up. So yes, point. So final results of the game. Community won on 8. Private sector on 7. So the 2 non-players sort of ran away with it, and I finished on a extremely poor 4 points. So it's Cross Bronx Expressway. Our first solo playthrough. Future playthroughs we will do more events, probably 1950s and 1960s. So feel free to subscribe if you want to get notified when that happens.